You know what old Jack Burton always says at a time like this?
Come on, then. I'll bite your legs off.
I can take it.
Great power comes great responsibility. We have a hope. Get to the chopper! And just a flesh wound. I am the father. Two of America's most blood-chilling science fiction shockers, Island of the Burning Damned and Godzilla's Revenge. Fighting amongst each other for the conquest of our planet. See the giant spiders spin their web of fear around their enemies. Godzilla's Revenge knows no limit. No end. No stopping. See man's last attempt at saving humanity from destruction. And Godzilla's Revenge. And on the same shot-filled program, Island of the Burning Dam.
And we're back for the next Monster Movie Stompdown, and this is episode 19, continuing our dual monthly episodes of Godzilla and Kong. We are back this time with Godzilla's Revenge, also known as All Monsters Attack, and of course this is Sludge, joined by my co-hosts, my brother in Texas.
It's Ruben.
And then of course my father sitting across from me.
And it's Mark.
We are here to... Well, we're doing Godzilla's Revenge, so here we go, okay? This is the worst Godzilla film, and thank you for listening to the shortest episode of the podcast, because that's pretty much all you need right there. But no, in all seriousness, I mean, we are Godzilla fans, and it's still a Godzilla movie, and we will discuss our thoughts on this one. But before we get into that, let me go ahead and just kind of give you guys who haven't seen this movie, which may be this is probably the least, I would go on a limb to say, the least most seen Godzilla film from any of our listeners. I would almost guarantee that.
Yeah.
But this was definitely the bottom of the barrel for the actual Toho films. But this movie, here, we'll give you the plot. It's about a little boy named Ichiro, who is bullied by a kid and his little group of friends named Gabara. At this time, of course, because the economy was so bad, it was really reflected in the movie. Both of his parents work full time and are hardly ever there. His dad drives what is it called? Drives a train, whatever that role is that he does.
Yeah.
But so
he's a conductor.
Yes, that's it.
Train conductor, I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, his father's a train conductor, and his mother, I think, is like a manager or something for like a hotel or something like that. But so it's pretty much just him. Like. Yeah, pretty much just him by himself, other than the his neighbor, the character named Shinpei Inami, who is a toy consultant. He makes toys, who is actually awesomely played. He's probably the only character I actually like in this movie, by Hideo Yamamoto, who we just talked about in King Kong Escapes because he was Doctor Who. So he's got a role in this one. And so pretty much Ichiro's kind of a loner kid. He's bullied by kids at school, particularly this one kid named Gabara. And it just so happens that in this area that he lives, a pair of bank robbers had just stole 50 million yen and are hiding out in an abandoned warehouse next to his apartment complex that he lives at. Ichiro, of course, has got a huge imagination. He doesn't really have any friends other than this one little girl. So he spends a lot of time in his room pulling out this little makeshift computer he's built that he calls to Monsterland. And he goes to Monsterland in his dreams and becomes friends with Minya. Minya on Monsterland happens to be going through kind of the same stuff that Ichiro's going through. He's the runt there on Monsterland or Monster Island, and he is picked on by another monster named Gabara, just like Ichiro's picked on by a kid named Gabara. Go figure. And Godzilla on Monster Island is, of course, beating up everybody and tries to teach Minya how to overcome this bully. And that's really the message behind the film. I mean, the two biggest messages is, what it was like in Japan at the time, in the end of the 60s with, I mean, everybody having to work because the economy was doing so bad, kids being, kind of on their own because mom and dad had to work full time, and then him being bullied. And so pretty much that's what it deals with. He goes through this, and he gets kidnapped by the bank robbers. But between him and Minya, through their different trials, they learn to overcome the obstacle of the bullies that are after them. And Ichiro ends up escaping from the gang or from the bank robbers and manages to actually get them arrested. And he overcomes his fear of Gabara, actually ends up beating him up there at the end of the movie. So does Minya. Well, Minya does. But then, of course, Gabara bites Godzilla, and Godzilla's like, I don't play that game. My son just beat you up. What do you think I want to do to you? That's the gist of the movie. This is probably the most, not probably, it is the most stock footage laden film of the Godzilla series. The budget was just really, really rough. This had the smallest budget of any of the Godzilla films. I couldn't even actually find it, but I looked at an estimated number of 240 million yen was the budget. Pulled in at the box office 260 million yen, so it did not do good at all. But because of the low budget and it's such a kid-friendly tone of a film, they used tons of stock footage. So you do get to see Godzilla fight a Spiga. You get to see him fight Ebera. You get to see him fight they could have picked some more better monster fights, but I mean, he fights, a lot of it's from Godzilla Sea Monster. So, I mean, you see Godzilla fight the jets, and then, or what was the Red Ribbon Army jets from from the Sea Monster. He fights the Vulture. I can't even remember what his name is. It starts with an O. He fights, dang it. The giant condor. Anyways, so he fights him. But he does fight the Kamacuras. He fights the Spiga. So pretty much all the monsters he fought in Son of Godzilla and Godzilla Sea Monster, he fights again here. We do get to see Gorosaurus. We get to see Anguirus. Of course, this is all stock footage. They're the only actual new footage in the film was the scenes with Godzilla, Minya, and Gabara. And by the way, we forgot to say that Minya talks in this film. So that wasn't rough at all. But this movie came out December 20th, 1969 in Japan, underneath the title All Monsters Attack. Came out here in the United States on December 8th in 1971. They drastically changed the title to Godzilla's Revenge, and of course dubbed it and released it over here. And of course, one difference, if you don't already know, in the Japanese versions, Minya is not Minya, he's Manila, but it's dubbed again to Minya when they come over here. This one actually, let's see here. Actually, I just saw it here. It actually did, it didn't come. So it came to DVD. I was trying to see when it came out on DVD because I was thinking this one came out later than most of them, but it didn't. It came out in '98 in that Scimitar box set. I was for some reason thinking it came out with that Toho Masters collection. I was like, this one didn't come out till way later than anybody else, but no, I was wrong. It came out in the Scimitar one. So this one,
Scimitar, and then there's one. A Dutch one was first, Paradise.
Oh, okay.
Paradise video, that was the very first one.
I didn't even know they did that one. So this one,
Dutch. It says it's Dutch. So
there's definitely so this one's to me has been reproduced then with those 3 DVD releases more than other Godzilla films that I think should have and never had. You look at Godzilla's Biollante, one VHS release, and then decades later you get the DVD Blu-ray release, and 1984 is the same way, even 85. I mean, it's like, man, those movies deserve to be printed way more than this movie does. But this one's, I mean, it's a Godzilla film, but it's gained very negative reviews from the fan base. It's, I mean, most widely considered to be the weakest of all the Godzilla films.
In 2008, Saturn Awards nominated this movie for an award.
What
in
award?
2008, it's a part of a DVD collection. It didn't win, but it was nominated.
What award was it nominated for?
The title is DVD collection.
Oh, okay. And, so I mean, it's not good enough to get nominated for its own thing.
No,
it's just,
but it was involved. Yes,
it was part. Yeah, because I'm like, I mean, is this nominated for the worst film of all time? Next to did it lose to Troll 2? Or, it's pretty rough. I mean, it sold over 1 million tickets less than Destroy All Monsters did. And even though Destroy All Monsters was great, it was still one of the weaker box office selling movies just because of the economy. So I mean, this one did really bad. And it really kind of shows, in the film itself. But I mean, as a Godzilla fan, just like, I mean, all of us, we watch it, we own it, but we do have to talk about it. So we will try to make this as fun and lengthy of an episode as we can for you. But we'll get into what we did and didn't like. Oh, I did want to say I did look this up earlier just because I was interested to see, because I was pretty sure this had the worst score on Rotten Tomatoes for Godzilla films, and it does. A nice whopping 17% from the audience out of like almost 3,000 user ratings. It's pretty bad. Anyway, so who started off first last time? I don't even remember.
I have no idea.
Well, we'll let Mark do it.
I think it was me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Mark.
We'll let Mark do it. Mark,
what did I like about it?
What did you like about the film? I feel like we need to have a cricket sound effect.
Obviously, very oriented towards children, and so the lightness, lightheartedness, the comic, the comedian type movie. I reckon I felt like it was okay. The acting was terrible. I got the American dub.
Oh, that's right.
Thank you.
Yeah, so,
Thank you.
Like explain, Ruben lucked out. So for us Godzilla fans, we know, okay, the differences between the Japanese and the American.
Yeah.
The Japanese one's hard enough as it is to sit through. The American one is an absolute nightmare to try and sit through.
I couldn't even get my 7-year-old granddaughter interested.
That's
in this
pretty
one.
rough. That's pretty bad. Me and Ruben, Ruben lucked out and watched it on what, TCM or Stars? Ruben?
Yeah, it was on TC. It was on TCM last weekend.
Oh yeah, so he got the Japanese one, right?
Yeah, I got to watch the Japanese.
Yeah, I didn't even
assume Criterion. What's going to be on the Criterion Blu-ray?
Yeah, that's what they're cycling on that. So that's what it would be.
Yeah.
I watched the Japanese Blu-ray version here at home, so somebody had to watch the English. So
I got it.
Mark got stuck with it. So, so go ahead, continue.
I tried. Hey, Mark, I tried to watch it today before the show. I sat there and. Basically for the music score. That's what I wanted to hear the difference and see. And I ended up, like I told Sludge earlier, I ended up watching the Hammer film instead because it was too rough.
It's one of those ones like I tried to watch it, but I mean, I ended up watching Night of the Lepus instead.
This is one of those movies where there's part of you want to say, don't watch this movie. But you've got to tell the Godzilla fans out there, if you haven't seen it, you got to watch it because you got to say, I've watched them all.
Yeah.
And
that's about the only reason I would think.
Yeah. And so, to get a little chuckle out of it, that's what I liked about it. Other than that, didn't like the acting. I didn't like pretty much anything about it. It's like, I tried and I did try, but it just wasn't coming through. And I thought they were really searching for some material to use.
Unbelievably.
In this movie, and so I think they were like running out of options and wasn't sure what they were going to do. So that's my take on it.
Yeah.
Ruben, what about you? Anything good?
Yeah, I mean, I actually. That's why I wanted to hear the soundtrack. I didn't think the score was too bad. It was very late 60s, early 70s. Now, I did notice, I mean, I don't know if you guys watch the Japanese version, you get to hear that, what is it called, the Monster Stomp song or something like that?
Yes.
It's got a title, something like that. And it's a little bit more fun to listen to. But if you're into rock and roll, and the American score is pretty surfy, is what I would call it. Very venture sounding like. I liked the score in the American version, and I even dug that song in the Japanese version. It's a little silly because this is a kids movie, so I lowered my standards because it's a kid. Although I've seen some very good kids movies that are way better than this, but I said, okay, it's geared toward kids. Yes, it's got a lot of stock footage in it. I think there's what is it, like she's 80% stock footage, maybe.
Probably.
As far as something, it's
Yeah.
monster fights only, excluding the human interaction parts. The human interaction parts are, Mark put it best, as comedic. It's kind of like, to me, it reminds me of movies like, I don't know if you guys ever seen Baby's Day Out or Home Alone, where the villains are just, a bunch of buffoons tripping over themselves. I don't even know how they managed to rob a bank. I'm like, how did these guys rob a bank and get away with it? They should have been caught immediately. And so that I didn't particularly care for the storyline. It's got an anti-bully vibe. So if you're a kid, you might dig it for that. But even that was kind of hard to swallow, because they really, really dumbed it down, I guess would be the word. Too much, where I think Mark says not even a 7-year-old could stay interested in it.
Yeah.
And that's with a bunch of Godzilla fight scenes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of it.
I like that. I mean, if I just sat there and watched it, say I was sitting here watching it with no sound and nothing but Godzilla fights, then sure, that's good. I'm always down for a good Godzilla action scene, Other than the Gabara one, I've seen them all. That's the thing. If you're a Godzilla fan, you recognize all the stock footage. And then there's even, the costume changes there because of the stock footage. So there's I think there's 2 different Godzilla costumes that I noticed anyway. It's just 2. Because there was 2 different suits, because there's the stock footage just went across too many movies. I mean, I think the Gorosaurus came from King Kong Escapes, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, Gorosaurus came from King Kong Escapes. They just didn't stick to Godzilla movies. Hell, they went into King Kong Escapes and grabbed
let's just pull what we can out of anywhere.
We'll take it. We'll grab it from there too. And so really the only thing I liked about it is, I didn't mind the music score. I liked that it was plenty of Godzilla action, even though it was stock footage. So I like that, and it was rough for me to come up with what I liked about this movie, but I said, I'm going to give it a good effort, and then that's when I came up with, I don't really mind the soundtrack too much, or the score too much, and I'm lucky enough to have the Japanese version where you get to hear the original song, and it looks like they did use the structure from that original song in it, but that's really about it. The acting was subpar. I mean, we've seen all these Godzilla movies. We've run the gamut of good to bad. This being the bad, and so when you compare it to other Godzilla movies, you can't give it a pass, because hey, we know that Toho is capable of giving us something way better.
Yep.
And they just didn't. So I'm judging it off the fact that, hey, wait a minute, this is Toho. They don't get a pass just because it's a kids movie, because they've done other movies and they've been awesome and they did good. There was good acting. There was the soundtrack was awesome. The score was awesome. Special effects were good. And this one just lacked all of that in it. It was like just pasted together. It's basically what it was, because of the stock footage. They just pasted together a movie. I will say that they did a decent job of pasting it together. If you had never seen a Godzilla movie before, or weren't familiar enough with the Godzilla movies, then you probably wouldn't notice. Yeah, you wouldn't notice.
Can get over the 3 different Godzilla suits.
yeah, there you go. See, I only counted 2, but there's actually 3 then. Okay, so that confirms that. I think there might even be 3. And but I said, well, I noticed 2 right off the bat. But if you're just a casual Saturday afternoon 10-year-old kid and you turn on the TV and you watch this, you might enjoy it. Maybe, because but it's tough for a diehard Godzilla fan, or even just a casual Godzilla fan, because you're going to notice these things. and it makes it rough to. That's what makes it rough to watch is the fact that what I've just said. To sum it up, is I know Toho's capable of more, and they pasted it together, and you notice it all. All the battles are very familiar because we've seen them all already, other than the Gabara. And I even thought that was kind of strange that Gabara even gave Godzilla a slight fight, because he's supposed to be a bully kid, and he goes after Godzilla. I'm like, that didn't make any sense. But but Godzilla, of course, kind of shoo fly, get away type of deal. That's it, man. I don't know if any of that made any sense to you, but basically, I didn't like much about it.
You like the soundtrack,
but
I like the
soundtrack. I like the soundtrack. That's about it. That's about it. And it was tough because believe it or not, I mean, you guys know. I mean, Godzilla, the Godzilla franchise, has some awesome soundtrack.
It does
on there. I mean, it's classic, and this is a part of that. But that being said, hey, it wasn't bad, but it's hard when you compare it to the whole Godzilla franchise. And I'm trying to exclude the ones that come after this. I will say this: it seems like this movie is setting up the next one on our list of Godzilla, which is Godzilla versus the Smog Monster or Hedorah, whichever one you prefer to call it. From the beginning, with all the smog and everything, it seems like they both have about the same beginning. Of course, that's for the next time. That's our next one. But it seems to me like that they have a common theme there, because even if you listen to the I don't know if it's in the song. Yeah, it is in the song. In the song, the Japanese version, there's a line in there that says that pollution is the real monster. I think it's in this one. Man, I might be mixing it up with Hedorah already. But basically, there's kind of a line in the. I don't know. I might be wrong about that, because I also watched Hedorah last week, right after Godzilla's Revenge, because they're showing them in chronological order on TCN.
Yeah.
And so I might have my songs mixed up, but I do think when I saw the beginning, I said, "Hey, this reminds me of what's coming up next," and that might be a theme for them. So that's it, man. That's all I got. It's up to you, Sludge.
Man, what do I have for this movie? It's as a diehard Godzilla. My wife the other Tuesday night, she's like, "I'll watch it with you," because I've asked her about watching some of these with me, and I'm like, "No, I'm not going to put you through that torture. Like, if you'll watch this, you'll watch any Godzilla film." What did I enjoy? My cup of coffee when it was going on. I mean, okay. So as a Godzilla fan, let me try and have some heart in this one, because this is bottom of the barrel down there with Sony. And even when we talked about it a little bit before the show, it's like, man, which one do you put above, Sony or this one? And man, it's difficult. It is difficult to do. But I would have to say the things that I enjoyed was just I enjoyed watching the Godzilla fight scenes that were stock footage, because I like watching those, and that's about it. Like, at a period. Other than I guess I kind of enjoyed the Gabara Godzilla fight at the end, because it did really make me think. I mean, after Minya beats him, then he bites Godzilla in the leg, and Godzilla's like, "No, I don't play this game," and just proceeds to stomp a mud hole in him. That's humorous to me. I mean, like Gabara, the monster they created, garbage. I think it's the worst looking monster design I've seen of any Godzilla. There's no Godzilla monster worse, I think, design wise, than Gabara. It's hard. I mean, it's just they really, really, really went the route of the Showa Gamera series post Gamera versus Gyaos, and Gamera versus Gyaos was already moving that way anyways. But even looking at those, which had such significantly lower budgets. I mean, we're talking Gamera versus Giron, Gamera versus V-Ross, Gamera versus Jiger, Gamera versus Zigra, which those came later, or even Gamera Super Monster, which was pretty much the Gamera version of Godzilla's Revenge. As bad as those were still so much more enjoyable to me than like this. I was sitting there watching it when I was watching it or not at work in case my boss listens on my lunch break. When I had it playing in the background, I'm like, man, like Gamera versus Zigra, which is, other than Super Monster, is the worst of the Gamera films. There was so many more moments in that movie that I found enjoyable than the entirety of Godzilla's Revenge. And that's pretty rough to say. So, I mean, things I liked. I did kind of like some of the things in the soundtrack. I mean, they did drastically, the Monster March that Ruben was referring to, they did take that out entirely for the American version and replace it with some kind of a jazz 60s tune.
Yeah.
Which was still enjoyable. It still fit the movie much like Monster March did. But the soundtrack was fun. It was actually a pretty enjoyable for the time soundtrack. There were some things that I really liked about that. But man, it's just it's there because it's there. This is the one Godzilla film I think I went like 8 years without owning, and had no desire to even really pick it up until I happened to come across the Scimitar DVD, which I think is still the version I actually have, other than getting it on the Plex. That like a yard sale for like $1. I'm like, oh, I need that one. I guess I'll grab it because it's the only one I don't have.
Yeah.
We'll put it this way. I mean, even though it's really tough to decide, I did buy and own Sony's TriStar Godzilla film before Godzilla's Revenge on DVD, because I did technically have it on VHS when I was a kid because my grandmother bought it for me. That's how I first saw it. I went down to her house in Sarasota when she lived in Bradenton. And they lived in Bradenton, Florida. And I spent a lot of time in the summers down there, and had made some extra money. And she took me to, I don't remember if it was a Target or a Michael's or something. I don't know, some store. And they had the Paramount VHS releases. And she had got me Godzilla's Revenge, Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, and Godzilla King of the Monsters, of those three. Oh. And so she bought it for me, and that was the first time I watched it. And I even remember, I still have memories of this, watching it at her house, and I didn't even finish it, like at first viewing. Like I ended up stopping and going outside and playing and catching lizards, because that was, it's it's one of those ones, if you're a Godzilla fan, you have to watch it, because you're calling yourself a Godzilla fan. So if you're a true Godzilla fan,
yes,
you're going to watch it because you got to see them all. You have to. Yeah. I mean, you've got to see it.
It's kind of like
an obligation.
It's kind of like buying a Sony Godzilla magazine and me finding it in your car.
Oh yeah.
You've been waiting for that for weeks, man.
I was waiting for that. God. I found it. I took the picture.
Dang it. I did. Okay. So for the listeners, let me explain, because I do dog the Sony film a lot, because it's like you as a listener of a Godzilla fan, that was probably the biggest disappointment of our lives. But I am a completionist, and I was out comic hunting with my kids, and was at a flea market, and the guy had on the shelf, if you all remember, it was the movie poster magazine. So it had like 10, 12 posters of the movie in this big oversized magazine. And he had it back there, and it was complete. I was like, man, you got anything else, Godzilla? He's like, no, this is the only thing I got. He's like, but it's complete, man. You want it? And I'm like, how much you asking for it? Because on the other completionist in me is like, I mean, if it's complete, that's so hard to find. I need to pick it up, I mean, just to have it. And he's like $10. I'm like, there's no way I'm paying $10 for this garbage. I'm sorry, dude. I told him, I said, I'm a huge Godzilla fan, but I mean, I would buy a turd for $10 before I bought that magazine. And he goes, well, how about 6? I'm like, no, dude, like, I'm not doing it. I walked out of there paying $2 for it. So, okay. So there you go. Okay. I own it. I'm a completionist. I paid $2 for it. I kind of
okay. So let's take it further out, and you do not accept that movie as a Godzilla movie, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what are you completing?
It's still
that I'm just asking.
My personal view on the 98 Godzilla is that's not Godzilla, and I don't accept that. But whether or not I accept that, the fact of the matter is, it is still in the Godzilla
Okay, so
franchise.
I need to go to the next question.
Oh my God, we're on Godzilla's revenge
Okay,
here.
and Godzilla's getting his revenge right now.
God, jeez.
Where is that magazine now? Is it on a shelf in the nerd room?
Yes, it's
with
on a
the
shelf
other
in the nerd room.
Godzillas?
Dude, it's got to be up there, man. Like, come on.
Okay,
Look, in defense, all right. So I own the Sony DVD, okay, because I'm a completionist. It's got to be in there. Seriously, the Sony DVD. I'll explain to you. It did not get. It was in shrink wrap. The wrap. I bought that thing 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It was before I moved here to Tennessee. 6 years ago. It had been at least 6 years ago. So I've owned it for over 6 years. The wrapping on it from the store was on it until last year. And the reason why it was taken off, your granddaughter took it off so that she can watch it. So, 6 years of owning this film, I never even opened it. Okay. Now let's go a step further. If you go to my Godzilla shelf, which a lot of people, if they've seen Facebook, have seen it and stuff, I have a lot of those, the candy egg Godzilla figures, the little tiny ones, or the Bandai Hypers too.
Yeah.
There is, made by Bandai, licensed by Toho. There is a little half-inch tall Godzilla 98. Okay, so it's there as well.
Well, is it Zilla?
It's Zilla. Okay, so technically it's Zilla. It is Zilla. And then of course now the magazine. I mean, the Godzilla stuff's together.
Okay. I just want to make sure we got it clear.
I feel terrible as a Godzilla fan now because I'm like, man, I've got more of the 98 than I do Godzilla's Revenge.
We got more of Godzilla's Revenge right now than he did in the whole movie. By exposing your. I'm a completionist.
Yeah. Okay. So. I am. Anyways, so
I'll let you get back to where you were at. Sorry.
I don't even know if I got anything left for Godzilla's Revenge, man. I mean, it is rough. I mean, we talked about it, and we'll get to the Sony one obviously as we continue to work through these. But even when we were talking about the stomps, and which we'll tell you guys our stomp rating for this before this is over. It was tough between the three of us. It's like we'd brought up the 98 film. It's like, man, do you give Godzilla's Revenge more of a rating because it's Godzilla?
Yeah.
Or do you not? Because what's the better film? And man, it's tough. I mean, it's a tough choice.
Yeah.
I won't review details here, but I will state that there is a 0.5 point difference between Godzilla's Revenge and 98's, in my opinion. You won't know what that 0.5 point is or where it weighs until we get to 98, but there's only a 0.5 point difference for me between these two films. So, but I mean,
like we said before the show, I said, I started thinking about it. I said, I know it's going to be heresy for a lot of Godzilla fans, but 98 was in a conversation. That should tell you how we feel about Godzilla.
Yeah, that explains it all. We put this with 98, so there you go. But I mean, hey, it's a Godzilla film, and I was wrong. I want to stand corrected because I was thinking about when Ruben was talking. I'm like, man, I said this was the lowest selling Godzilla film, but I was like, no, because this one still did over 1 million tickets, and I knew there was 2 that had done less than 1 million tickets in sales. Because I mean, the comedy, especially in the 70s, got even worse than 69 when this movie came out. And there was 2.
Yeah.
The only 2 Godzilla films that sold less than 1 million tickets at the box office in Japan was Godzilla vs. Megalon, had 980,000. So it did less than this, even though that's still a way better movie. And then Terror of Megagodzilla did 940,000. That's the worst selling Godzilla film. And I'm just like, how, man? Because that's a great movie,
Yeah, that one I would not even. Yeah, I wouldn't. If you were asking me off the top of my head to list the 5 worst Godzilla movies, I don't even think that would be on my list.
No, man. I mean,
the bottom five. No, I don't. I really
there's no way. But again, that shows you how the economy really affected this series. From the late 60s through the 70s, which obviously caused the break that Godzilla had to take from 74 until his return in 1984.
Yeah.
But,
and you're right. It's so funny how starting with this one, not so much with the smog monster, but like Godzilla versus Gigan, especially Gigan. There's a comedic.
Yeah,
there's a comedic inserted. There's comedy inserted into the movie.
I think it's where they were trying at that point, because obviously just pushing this towards kids alone, like they did in this film, from here on out, they realized that ain't going to work if we want to keep doing it. So I think they really, well, with Smog Monster, we'll get to it in the next episode for that. They went in another direction, but I think they realized, especially with Godzilla vs. Gigan, Megalon, and so on through Godzilla and Terror Megagodzilla, they really had to broaden their, hey, let's hit everybody from the age of 5 to 50. Yep. You know what I mean? So bringing in that comedy, bringing in a little bit of edginess and blood, like we'll see in Godzilla vs. Gigan and Megagodzilla. They really were like, we need to try and get everything we can. There was one thing actually I forgot to mention about this one. One of the things that drove me nuts about this movie, and I don't know if you guys saw this or paid attention, was the overimposing that they had done in a couple scenes. The one that sticks out to me the most is when Godzilla and Espiga are fighting. Okay. One of the scenes, of course, it's a stock footage straight from Son of Godzilla. It's the scene where Espiga's already webbed up Minya. Okay. When you're watching that and Godzilla shows up in the scene, and Son of Godzilla, you see Minya laying there, and then Espiga is in the forefront, and then Godzilla's coming from the background. They superimposed a boulder over Minya. On Minya. But when he hits Espiga with his ray and he flips, it was very quick. You see Minya webbed up there, and Godzilla's just like, wait, boulder, webbed up Minya, boulder. It's like, it was horrible. If you watch it on VHS, you probably won't even notice. But if you're watching like Ruben did with the Criterion version on TCM, or you watch the Blu-ray one like I got, it's very noticeable. There's even one of the scenes with Kamacuras when Ichiro's running towards his first visit on Monster Island. They actually superimposed a tree as well, and man, that tree stuck out like a sore thumb. I'm like, did my 5-year-old color that and put it on? I mean, like, what happened here? But so this one, I mean, they were scraping the barrel with this movie. But I mean, I got nothing else to say about it. It's just, it is what it is. Yep. I mean, every franchise has got a low point, and this is definitely Godzilla's low point.
That's for sure. All the listeners know that I'm big with the nostalgia. I throw that word out a lot with a lot. And this one, even with the nostalgia factor, makes it tough. Because I mentioned there's a lot of Godzilla. This one was another one that was on rotation on Saturday afternoons. Not as much as the others, but it was.
It got billed a lot with Monster Zero, actually. That, and then there you go. If I remember correctly, it got billed a lot with B horror film, Island of the Island of something. Yeah. Island of the Damned or something like that. Some real major. But so it didn't happen often. But they did. They billed it back in the day on the Saturday matinee runs.
Yeah. So so to me, even if for me that even the nostalgia makes it tough to watch. Even with the nostalgia adding points, it's still one of those films that it's kind of hard to watch, especially as an adult. Let's just put it. I mean, even RG when he was little, this one was not in the rotation at all. It was like there was others that he'd watch, but this one was not one that he'd watch. Matter of fact, he was home from college when I was watching it the other day, and he kind of was he sat here and we kind of laughed at it for a little bit, because it is funny. It's a funny film to watch.
It is,
and so.
Oh man,
so
okay.
He sat here for a few minutes, and so it's fun. We can say that about it, but again, there's just too many negatives throughout the movie compared to other Godzilla films that it's tough. But I will say that it is fun, especially if you don't take it too seriously at all.
You can't take it seriously, period. Like, don't take any seriousness. But man, I'm trying to remember. I wanted to look up that movie that it was billed with too, because I remember seeing
Night of the Big Heat is what the theatrical release it double billed with.
The Big Heat, man. I'm thinking, because the movie I'm thinking of that was with it was Peter Cushing and
there it is.
Oh yeah, and Christopher Lee.
And
okay,
that's it, and it's called Night of the Big Heat.
Night of the Big Heat.
Yeah.
I swear I was thinking that
Really?
movie was called Island of the
With-
Damned or Burning Damned or something like that.
With
Christopher
Christopher
Lee
Lee
and Peter Cushing. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
the posters for it.
Yeah.
No way, man. Like, I can't believe that. I swear I thought it was called Island of the Burning Damned or something like that. Night of the Big Heat. Okay.
Out of the Big Heat.
Well, hey, I'm about to look that up because I need to.
Well,
figure
I've
it out.
got Island of the Burning Damned also
Do you?
on my notes here. Yeah, on my notes I have Godzilla's Revenge was frequently paired with the Island of the Burning Damned. And then on some, it was War the Gargantuous. Man, how could you do that to the poor Godzilla's
I know,
Revenge?
like that's blasphemy to sand and guy right there. Somebody's got to Mark. Look that up, Mark. Look up the Island of the Burning Damned and see if that is that the same movie, just two different titles. It may be. While he's looking that up, though,
Oh,
it is the same.
it is
Yeah,
okay.
the same
Okay, because
movie.
I was like, man, I swear
Yes.
when you showed me that poster for Night of the Big Heat, they even said Peter Cushing and
Well, they are actually saying that it's the poster art was confused with Island of Terror from 1966, which starred Peter Cushing.
okay. So then
And,
that's the
And you know what? When I hit, I've got it here. I just hit the link, and it says Night of the Big Heat. It's the same movie.
Yeah.
okay.
exact same
Okay.
movie.
All right.
Yeah.
So
It's the same movie.
Okay.
The film was released theatrically in the United States in the winter of '71 as The Island of the Burning Damned.
Okay. Because I
'Cause
remember.
it's a British science fiction movie.
Yeah.
And I just finished watching the Terrence Fisher movie because he did a lot of Hammer films, and so did, of course, Christopher Lee Cushing. Is
Right.
this a Hammer film?
It looks
I
like.
don't
I
think
mean,
it is.
you've got 3 of them on it. I mean, if you said Terrence did it, if Terrence did it, and
Yeah.
of course you got
yeah.
Christopher and Peter, then I mean, I don't know how it's not a, and it's British. How's it not a Hammer film? You know,
I
it's
know
like-
it. How is it not a Hammer film?
That's-
I'm like, wait a minute.
That's
If
everything you need
if
for a
it's
Hammer
one-
film right there.
I know, yeah.
But
If it isn't, it should be. But
anyway, that goes to show you guys. I mean, we're more interested in this Night of the Big Heat movie at this point than, than Godzilla's Revenge. So real quick before we give our stomp rating, we never did discuss the big elephant in the room or on film for this movie, and that's Minya talking. Because you've got, of course, now in the Japanese version, it's a girl that they sound like they've got her in a radio box or something who voices Minya,
yeah.
and then a dude or a man voices him in the American film, and they're hard to sit through. But man, that American version, that's why me and Ruben did Japanese.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I can handle the woman a little bit better than that. Man, that he sounded like he was like a terrible character out of a Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
It's just
There you go.
bad.
Yeah,
Just
it's
flat out
Good,
bad.
that's a good analogy right there.
oh man, we better go. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's so bad. So hey, if
Yeah,
anything,
Godzilla says I should fight my own battles.
yeah. Oh my gosh, it's bad. I felt like I was watching like a side character from Magilla Gorilla,
What-
like the way he sounds.
I just thought it was so bad that I'm sitting in the room by myself and I'm getting embarrassed.
But yeah,
And I'm in there by myself and I'm
it's
thinking,
like I hope nobody opens the door and sees me watching this. Let nobody be outside hearing what's happening
yes,
right now.
exactly.
Oh, it is, man. So you'll get a kick out of that at least if you're watching it because it's humorous. So, but okay, all right. So I mean, we've stretched that about as far as we could to the point that we were talking about a Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee film. So we did everything we could for you guys. But as far as the stomp rating, this is the worst of the worst so far.
So far,
It's got 1 out of 5.
yes.
1 out of 5. So if you're
Yeah.
a Godzilla film fan, you got to watch it at some point because you got to watch all the Godzilla movies. But, it's the least recommended, possibly one of the 2 least recommended
Yeah.
films in the 35 feature-length films of Godzilla we've gotten.
Hey, the good thing about it is when it's all said and done, you'll be talking about a 1966 Peter Cushing film.
Yeah,
too.
there you go.
Yeah,
So,
there you
hey,
go.
if we've done anything for you guys, we have steered you
That's
to
right.
a good classic Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee film that apparently was
Exactly.
done by Terrence
Hey,
Fisher, and that was
Hey, if Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee are both in it, man, I guarantee
Yeah.
you're gonna
it's
enjoy
going to
it.
be
Exactly.
great. I mean, I'm going to go find out after this episode on how that is, if it is or is not a Hammer film. Because if you've got those 3, it's got to be a good time.
I know it. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's gotta
Yeah.
be.
I won't find it. I'm gonna watch it, and I'm gonna be like, "This is so much better than Godzilla's Revenge." But
So,
all right, so Godzilla fans don't hate us because the Godzilla fan base can get rowdy, but come on, let's just get real.
Yeah.
This is we all pretty much agree this is the worst, but it's still Godzilla film, and we got through it.
Yeah.
You know, hey, it's
Yeah.
okay.
If
So.
anything, we're honest.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
before when we were talking about our stopping ratings, I said, and I'd love to give this a 2, but I can't. You know, I just can't do it. I just can't do it. If we're going to be true to our opinion anyway, what we think of Godzilla, and we're all, we know Godzilla inside and out, and so if anything, we're being honest. It may not be, if you can, when we release this, if you can think of a word, you can. The only other one that could compare is 98, but other than that,
Yeah, that's it.
I don't think anybody can say, well, no, I thought this one was worse. Or, it'd be very hard for me to swallow that.
Oh,
but,
it is. I've seen that.
We'll see what happens.
I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen Godzilla, that Italian colorization.
Oh, yeah.
That's a hard movie to watch because of the colorization process. Like, it's very hard to swallow. And I enjoy that more than I do this one. Like, I'm sitting there watching Godzilla and going like, I don't do drugs, but I feel like maybe I did just then because I don't know what's going on. Because it's
I take something that
yeah, like this just doesn't.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't feel right watching this. So, but anyways. So that was, Godzilla's Revenge. Hope you guys at least enjoyed the episode, learned a little bit about the film. We do encourage you. Even though it's bottom of the barrel, if you haven't seen it, go watch it so you can at least say as a Godzilla fan, hey, I've seen them all, because you got to get through it. You may
especially if you're
things.
quotation marks, completionist.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're a completionist,
you've got
like
to
sludge. I'm never let that one down. It's not gonna land, man.
Well, you just have to imagine he comes to my work and
no.
shock of me walking up to his car and looking inside his car, and there it laid in his seat. I was like, wait, what?
I should have thought before going that, paid attention to it laying there. I'm like, I need to hide this.
I immediately reach in, grab it, and run to a table and pull my camera out, phone out, and take a picture.
No, you didn't even do that first. The first thing you did was grab that and pulled it out of my car.
Yeah, I had it out. I've got to take a picture of this.
Yeah, then post on Facebook, and Ruben's like, it's right next to his copy of Titanic under his bed or something like that. Like, no, man.
Oh, yeah. It was great.
Oh.
I'm telling you, Sludge, you were better off him catching you with a Playboy in your bed.
I really
Exactly.
was.
Exactly.
I would have fared better in that scenario than this one.
You would have fared better.
Oh, man. All right. Well, so what is even next? What's the next one? I don't even know. King Kong,
Yes.
76.
Yes. Exactly.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be great.
Yeah.
This is redeeming what we just watched, this next one. So, which will be super, super fun. So, so next month we've got, or this month, is it this month for this episode? I don't know, man. The way we're recording these, the next episode is going to be King Kong, the 1976 Dino De Laurentiis remake, which is actually really, really good. I've actually watched it like 2 or 3 times now since we started doing the Kong films. Yeah. I'm like, man, other than, the few things I don't like, which we'll talk about when we do the episode, I love that film. Yeah. That's a really good film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about that one.
It's always been one of my favorites. My wife makes fun of it all the time, but
man,
it's what it is.
It's so good.
I was a child of the 70s, so that was a big deal.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, and then after that, we go to the next Godzilla film, which is such a better sigh of relief. Still, it's an oddball, maybe the biggest oddball of the series, but such a better film with Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, or Godzilla versus Hedorah.
I rushed to the theaters, and as soon as it came to the States
to see this one.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, I would love to have seen that one in theater. I've been lucky enough to see quite a few Godzilla films. Even one from the Showa era because of G-Fest and things like that. This is the Smog Monster is one I haven't seen, but I would have loved to have seen that one.
Very good.
So I got that what's the song in the dance club they're playing? Can't even think of the name of the song, but that movie, it's in my head right now. So it'll be fun. So I'm telling you. So it's an uphill climb from here on all Godzilla films. And
we're heading back up.
King Kong, we're going back up. We've hit the bottom. We'll drop back down, in about, after we get to the Heisei series, we'll go through that, thankfully, before we hit the 98 film. But so I mean, that's I have nothing else for this movie to say at all. I mean, I feel like I've worked out, and give it my all. I'm like, something else the whole time. But you guys got anything? I don't.
No, it's been a fun episode.
It has been.
It has been a good
it has been.
So
I got made fun of.
I was a little concerned that it was going to be too negative, but no, it turned out pretty good.
Yeah. And that goes to show you, listeners, if you're not a Godzilla fan, even when we deal with the worst of the worst for us, we still have fun doing it.
That's it.
And if you're a Godzilla fan, you know what it's like. If you're a Godzilla fan and you don't know what it's like, you're on the bad side of the fandom and need to jump over to our side and have a good time with it. So
exactly.
There you go.
That's what it's about. So, all right. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for listening. Join us for the next episode with the 76 remake of King Kong. And then we'll be back with more Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. This is Sludge.
And Mark.
It's Ruben. And Ruben.
Y'all have a good night.
The fish room.